My name is David Tennant and I play Will Burton, who I suppose is the escape artist of the title, really. Will is a defence barrister. He's not quite QC, he's not quite taken silk yet, as they say, but he's very much well on his way, and he has the extraordinary record of never having defended anyone and lost. Will and Kate have been together, we never find out too much about their history, but they've been together a good while. They're both Scottish. Whether they met in Scotland, we don't necessarily find out in the script, but I have my own version of all that, but I won't bore you with my character history. But yes, they are very happily married, have been for quite some time. They have an 8-year-old boy, and everything is working out for them. Will is very driven, obviously, and very professionally successful, but he manages to have a decent work-life balance even at the same time. You know, there's references in the script to them missing the occasional family holiday because his life at the Old Bailey is fairly all-consuming. But even having said that, he manages to leave work at home, and they seem to have a very loving relationship and a very happy family life. I think the fact that I know Ashley of old, it certainly does help. I mean, every job that you come onto, the circumstances are different, aren't they? And the person you have to work opposite, you know, you assume that relationship in whatever way you have to, and whatever the circumstances are. But it's nice to have a shorthand. I've known Ashley. My very first professional job out of drama school was with Ashley. She was the grand old dame of the theatre because she'd been out of a drama school a whole year. So she knew all about it. She'd already done a pantomime and a tour of Ur Wully, I think. So she was, you know, very experienced, and I was very wide-eyed, and I mean, I think I was 20 years old when we met, and I've known her ever since. You know, we not only did we have a great time working together, we became mates, and I've visited her in various places around the world. And we've kept in touch all these years, and I've worked together again since, in fact. So it's great to not have to worry about a lot of those shorthands, to know that you can just slip into being with someone that you know well and that you like and that you genuinely have a laugh with. Hopefully you can channel some of that natural ease into playing a married couple, and that it gives it an extra believability, hopefully. Obviously, there's a dramatic trick to an extent that you have to fall in love with Will and Kate as a couple very early on, and you have to want the best for them, so that when the best doesn't necessarily happen, you feel the pain, and that you are as an audience you're distraught, and you don't see it coming, and all those things, you know, there's a trick to that, but also the stakes are higher. The more you're invested in the happiness of your central characters, then the more distraught you are when that happiness is robbed from them. I think everything that Will does is very easy to believe in and very simple to justify. And I think that's one of the fascinations that we always have about the law, and why law dramas work so well, because it's about the framework of legality and of morality is based on the ethics of being human. If you have the privilege of reading a number of scripts, the ones that work just sort of sing out to you, you know, and the ones that you don't want anyone else to have a go at are quite easy to recognise. And this was one of them, really. I think it starts as one thing, and you believe you're in a sort of Kavanagh QC world, and that in itself is rather satisfying. And you see this rather brilliant, rather charming lawyer who can solve all these cases, who can find witty, clever, impossible ways out of situations, and that's satisfying in itself. Suddenly, this world that has been that you feel like you're just getting to know, and you feel, I want to know more about these people. I want to know more about how they live life at the top of the legal profession, how they, what the morality of that is, and how clever they are, and their rivalries and all that, which is enough for a drama in itself. Suddenly, it does a handbrake turn and turns into something which is a sort of macabre noir thriller. There's a huge performance element in standing up in court and defending someone. Absolutely. And playing those scenes, you feel that. Will is number one. Will has never lost a case, and Will is number one in the top 40 under 40. So he can afford to be apparently less bothered about it all. He can afford to be just doing my job, Maggie. He can afford to maintain the moral high ground, whereas Maggie is slightly struggling to knock him off his perch. And I think it's interesting to ponder that if those roles were reversed, and if Will's competitiveness was shown in all its rawness, and if he wasn't winning everything, and if he wasn't top dog, then maybe he would appear as callous as Maggie does, because he would need it more. There is clearly steel that runs through Will that he can cover in bonhomie and charm, because it's not really been tested at the start of our story. I've known Sophie for years, but our paths have never quite crossed professionally, so I was really chuffed when I heard that she was going to do this, because I'm a big fan of hers, and she's great for the role. She's got, she's such an imposing figure, physically, and she's got all this kind of strength and yeah, this wonderful vulnerability to everything she does. I didn't know Toby before this, and in fact he wasn't around because he was in America, so we didn't have any time to talk through scenes and discuss objectively what either of us or our characters thought about things, which I think was kind of the right way to go about it anyway. Foyle is clearly a psychopath, but perhaps there's an element of that in Will's kind of cold logic when it has to be that, that need to strip away the empathy when you need to be able to switch it off. That's quite a talent, and it's possibly, well, it's a talent, or it's an affliction. He's been great, actually. He's got a very kind of down-to-earth quality about him, a kind of unassuming quality. He's very genuinely interested in sort of what you've got to bring to it. Some directors will do a kind of dance of going through, I really want to know what your input is, and actually all they want you to do is stand in the right place, not bump into the furniture, and remember your lines. Brian genuinely wants it to be a group creative journey. It's a very ambitious script. What I think is one of the brilliant things about David's writing is he doesn't cut his cloth particularly. He just writes the best story he can, with as many locations and as many scenes and as many extraordinary set pieces as he can cram in, which is wonderful, which is what makes the script and ultimately the piece kind of jump along. But of course, that can be quite difficult to shoot in 7 weeks. I've known Hilary a little bit, sort of. I've met her at sort of industry things, and I've always known her and always known that she's one of the good ones, you know, one of the ones that you aspire to working with. So again, this script came with her name attached, and you think, oh, that well, we know we'll be all right then. We know it'll be well served. And she is, yeah. I mean, Hilary's kind of old school and proper, and you feel very safe, and you know that. However much, even if a day on set is going very badly and it feels that we're never going to get this shot and the wheels are falling off every cart and it's all going wrong, you kind of know that you've got, with a producer like Hilary, it'll not just be okay, but it'll ultimately be brilliant because she doesn't produce work that isn't. I think there's some brilliant bits of casting throughout this, actually. Nina Gold is the casting director on this, and she's one of the best around. And whenever I've worked on a job that Nina's cast, all the parts are sort of brilliantly and rather inventively cast. People you wouldn't necessarily immediately think of, and yet when you see them in the roles, that you just go, oh, of course, nobody else could play that. And she's secured the talents of some extraordinary people. I mean, Anton Lesser, who's always such a sort of quality actor to have around, who just gives Mayfield such kind of gravity, such an important corner of Will's world. And with Anton playing that part, you just know what that is. But then someone like Monica Dolan, who's just... And I haven't got to see a lot of Monica stuff because most of it is away from me, but you just know that there's going to be something brilliant going on there with an actress like that. And Patrick Reichardt and Tony Gardner and Stephen White in the Chambers making up this... You just believe that world. I did not see any of it coming. I didn't. I thought we'd seen... When Will doesn't shake Foyle's hand and walks off, I thought that was a story beat telling us something about Will. I didn't for a second think we'd ever see Foyle again. I thought we'd be on to the next case and we'd see him being, escaping, being an escape artist in some other extraordinary, brilliant, mercurial way. I thought it was a court drama. I had no idea. I think that's the great triumph of how David writes, actually, that you never doubt it. It's the same as books, you never doubt it. And yet he's actually writing some quite far out, quite wildly dramatic stuff that in the hands of a lesser writer would just seem pulpy, actually, and ludicrous. And what's great about his writing, and what I think is so exciting about this, is that it's a big, old... The stakes are higher than you could imagine. It's all quite melodramatic, potentially, and yet he roots it all in a world of complete credibility. I think when you're given a character that's as brilliant as Will, that's always fun to play. It's always fun to be the cleverest person in the room, and then to play a character that has all those gifts, who then has all those obstacles. That's sort of, from an acting point of view, that's just delicious. That's you get to do everything. You get to battle with everything, and then to get to play that against a range of actors of the calibre that have been on this show. It's great.